it.
There's a ton of everyone. That was my pitch.
We are living in a world on fire, full of sickness, disease, and fear. The world has made profit more important than the health of people.
Thankfully, we still have a way back to a healthy spirit, mind, and body.
The purpose of this Nature Makes the Rules podcast is to let people of all ages know that they can still have a strong and healthy life, no matter what the rest of the world is saying or doing.
We invite you to join us, Dr. Joe and Ilene, for the Nature Makes the Rules podcast.
Well, welcome back to the Spine Geek podcast where nature makes the rules. My name is Jeff, and I'm just the host here, as always, facilitating some great conversation, great sharing of wisdom with Dr. Joe and Ilene Arve. And guys, I'm excited today. This is we have an outline that you guys have been working on that I know that you're excited to teach through. And this is a very interesting subject. And I'm excited because part of it is I don't know what the heck this thing even does and what it is. And that's what makes it intriguing. That's what makes it fun. And so, as we often do here, we get to I get to sit here and be a host, but also a learner, and have you guys, because of your personalities and your passion, bring something to life that some people might roll their eyes otherwise and go, what is this? What is this all about? But this is going to be exhilarating. It's going to be fun. So, yeah, tell everybody what we're doing today.
Well, again, we're always trying to make sure you, the Spine Geek Warrior, our Spine Geek Warrior family, we want to give you the tools. We want to give you the things you need to navigate this crazy world today. We want to give you the things that we've done for the last 35 years, and realizing that what we called it 35, 30, 20 years ago maybe have a new name. I used to say in all my talks, listen, I can either tell you where the light switch is, or I can explain to you all the wires that are in the ceiling. What would you prefer? And 20 years ago, they all said, no, just tell us what light switch is, we're good. Now, everybody would, not only do they want to know what the light switch is, they want to know all the wires in the ceiling that are being affected based on their behaviors. So today, the name of this podcast, and the next two podcasts actually, teaser, is Nurturing Young Minds. So when you look at the chronic illness today in children, when you look at asthma, when you look at ADHD, when you look at problems in school, when you look at emotional stress, when you look at their body not working right with either the asthma or the eczema or digestive disorders and things like that. When you look at just their behavior, whether it's in school or with their friends or socially, there's something going on in their brain. And more importantly, what's called their vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is connected from the brain, and it goes to very important parts of their body, like their heart, controls their blood pressure, controls their mood, their digestive system. Your vagus nerve in your child and in your body, adults, runs all the parts that we're seeing breaking down in children at epidemic levels. It's getting worse, not better. And so we want to help you gain control to understand, A, what the vagus nerve is, B, what vagus nerve dysfunction is, and then share some stories on what you can do if you're like, oh my word, they're talking to me. They're explaining exactly what I'm going through, what my child's going through. We want to give you hope and some action steps to take. So we're going to get into this interesting system. So officially, I call it that, understanding and nurturing your vagus nerve in children, or the vagus nerve secret. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh. So again, we're trying to be cool with all this stuff. So really, the vagus nerve secret. So Mrs. Arve, let's talk about changing channels. The vagus nerve, it's like this super highway that's in our children's body, all our bodies, and it's directly connected to the brain, the heart, the lungs, the digestive system. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about what song is playing in your mind right now. What song is playing in your child's mind? Because the vagus nerve attached to the brain acts like a conductor with a symphony. And so you have all these parts of the band, of the orchestra, okay? And the conductor decides on if the song is fast or the song is slow, if the song is happy or the song is sad. But so many things in our environment influence the song that this conductor wants to have this little child play. The song has a direct effect on the emotions, the biology, and the behavior of that child. So let's talk about just how important we were going through this information. Where have you seen vagus nerve stress or vagus nerve or this song playing in the child's head affect their behavior or affect their health? Like our daughter, May, right? She would get stuck on a thought or something, and like we just had to learn how to what we called change the channel.
We would change the channel. Yeah, we would help her change the channel because you can't change the channel in somebody else. You can help direct them to change the channel, but a lot of times it needs kindness and not anger. Channel changing doesn't happen if you're yelling. It needs you to nurture and point them into a different direction. Point them, some things we used to say when the kids were little is that you haven't walked in somebody's shoes. And so sometimes that can change your channel when something's happening to you as a little kid, when somebody maybe steals your toy or acts out against you. We would say, but we don't know what it's like at their home. We don't know what they're going through. So let's just give them grace. But let us change the channel and have better behavior or better thoughts of them, but through kindness and love as opposed to through, force and anger.
Yeah. If you've ever said to your child or somebody, well, hurt people.
Yeah.
Well, what part of that person is hurt? It's their vagus nerve. It's their vagus nerve system that they're acting out in ways because the stress or the injury or the damage is on their vagus nerve system. Because again, the vagus nerve's role in your child or in adults is their total well-being. It controls the way that their body adapts to the environment that they're in. So, and it also controls how, like the heart rate, the speech, their mood, their ability to react in situations. And so the vagus nerve is kind of like the traffic cop of our child's body. It's directing traffic. And think about this: if the traffic cop is doing its job, it's directing traffic, it's allowing things to happen, and it's not allowing other things to not happen. But if the traffic cop just shows up but doesn't raise his hands, doesn't blow his whistle or her whistle, doesn't direct traffic, then it creates a mess. And not just a mess, but if you've ever been in a traffic jam, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like, here in Denver, you've been on I-25 or I-70 at the same time, it's all backed up. Well, the role of getting traffic flowing at a good speed and a safe speed, and there's no accidents in our body, metaphorically, that's the job of the vagus nerve. And so when that vagus nerve gets stressed out, then things like emotions can get stuck.
Right. You could even have diarrhea. I hate to say that word, but it can give you an upset stomach,
yes,
stomach pain, or you can't eat food. All of a sudden your child doesn't want to eat.
And the emotional eating comes in, and the binging. So emotionally we react, but also then, like you said, that affects our biology. So now our digestion isn't working right. Our breathing isn't working right. Mm-hmm. Our performance in school, our performance in sports isn't right. We're not kind to one another. We don't have resilience. We're not calm in situations.
You also can't get out of flight or fight. You're kind of stuck there too.
Exactly. You're stuck. Your sympathetic nerve system is stuck. And it's like, well, how do we get it unstuck? Well, the issue is that medications simply just make more stress on the vagus nerve. Trying to take shots, again, the medical approach it only wants to cover up. It wants to shut the symptoms off. But what happens, it just makes that vagus nerve system even more frustrated, more angry.
Out, yeah.
And that's why it's never a good idea. And then the side effects from those medications, because they're mind altering, they're psychotropics, what happens is that they begin to, now the vagus nerve is stressed, and now that begins to get acted out in emotions. And that's when they become harmful or dangerous to themselves or harmful and dangerous to others. So that's why we wanted to spend time on this podcast, because the vagus nerve is a huge thing as far as the role of health and healing and well-being in our children. And so when the vagus nerve is stressed out, they call it vagal dysfunction. And you can look up things like polyvagal theory and stuff like that. And so stress can cause vagal dysfunction, but it's also linked to health issues, to where, their emotions are all across the board and inconsistent. Their mood is not happy, right? And again, their hormones begin to get out of whack. And so they maybe gain weight, or they're just not processing, or they start their female cycle, or it doesn't shut off. Like you said, digestion happens.
I also think that it's they can't put into words always why they're feeling this way. They're like, I don't know why I'm acting this way. It's just they're just on the inside. It's just like I call it like a prickly porcupine, and they don't know why they're feeling so prickly.
Right. That's good. As far as because you see people, and as I was understanding this, I'm looking at each person going, ooh, what's going on? What song are they listening to? Why are they a how you say it? Prickly porcupine. Say that fast 3 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Nope.
and a lot of it is fear based.
Yeah.
So now let's say, well, what would be fear based? Well, let's look at social media. Let's look at Instagram. So look at TV. Let's look at the music that's out there. Our environment can cause us to be in a state of love or a state of fear. And the point is that when fear comes in and the environment is not safe and there's all kinds of things breaking loose, the part of the body that gets under attack is the vagus nerve. And that starts to dysfunction. And again, that has an effect then on your ability to regulate your emotions, to focus, to pay attention, to be kind to one another, because you feel prickly. Again, when your hormones are off, you feel like just wanting to punch people in the face maybe and acting out, especially in school later.
And you see that with aggressive driving.
And if you're driving.
Yeah, and it tends to be, I would say, and I hate to say this, but it's the younger people. It's the younger people driving so angry. Granted, I was probably one of those too, but it's like the older people, maybe driving slow, which may make them extra angry, but it's like they're driving. I want to call it like race carring, to where they're like going around and zipping, and you're like, you are being so dangerous to anybody out here. If they're not looking in their mirrors, they're going to run right into you because you're going too fast, and they cannot look at you and judge that they're not going to get over, and it's just insane.
Yeah. When you're suffering from vagus nerve dysfunction, it's never your fault. It's always them. They made you mad. They're in your way. They said something. They did something. It's never about you. That emotionally, you're not about others. It's all about you. And that's your vagus nerve just being totally stressed out. And so the song that you're playing in your mind is me. Exactly. me. It's all about me. It's all about me. How do I look? How do you think I feel? You hurt my feelings. And then when you confront them, then they just make excuse. Well, you didn't know how I and me and me and me and I and me and me.
It's your fault that I did this.
You should have known better. If you if you have to ask, you must not love me. If I have to tell you what I want for my birthday, I want for this or want that. Yeah,
you should know me better.
You should know me, right? It's all about me. And again, that's just the brain, the way the song that's playing in this child or adult's mind. And the good news is that you can change it. We've had our own children who have had health issues because, again, you can grow up in a Christian family. You can do everything right. And we see vagus nerve dysfunction across the board. If you want to go to John 10:10, where the devil promises to steal and destroy, and you see the darkness that's in our world, that has a direct effect on our mind and our emotions and our perception, our environment. And what is that thing that makes perfectly good people start doing crazy things? It's the attack on the vagus nerve. It's exactly.
Then they believe the lies. Then it's more easy to get into your brain, the lies that you're like, well, everybody must think this about me or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your body's, because your body wants to maintain homeostasis. So your body doesn't want you to be stressed out all the time. So it's going to try to make things kind of feel a little normal. But so then your body's like, well, our heart rate's racing all the time, we have to breathe really hard and really shallow, and then our digestive's all upset because we're all just like nervous on the inside. But that's because our minds are believing something it's not true. We're not saying, what does God say about you? Not what the world's saying about you, because sometimes they're just so caught up in what the world says,
Right.
If I'm not an influencer, then I'm nobody, or there's a lot of lies out there.
So let's start transitioning then. Okay, we understand what the vagus nerve is. We understand what happens when it gets stressed out. But here's the thing. There's a scripture that says, put on the full armor of God, right? We put on the helmet of salvation, okay?
Right.
Because there's only one God.
Protect our mind.
And if our words and our ways and our worship are focused on him and him alone, then we have the helmet of salvation protecting our mind. Then we have the breastplate of righteousness that we guard our heart. When, not if the attacks come, we have the armor of God on, right? And the breastplate, sorry. Then we have the belt of what?
Truth.
Of truth.
Mm-hmm.
Not the belt of lies or the belt of fibs or the belt of white lies. No, the belt of truth. Because you know the truth will set you free. And again, we did this with our kids. You need to put this on every single day. Then you have the shoes on your feet of shod with the gospel of peace, right? And if you know what we're doing, we're putting them on right now as we're doing this talk, right? So we got the helmet of salvation, which means our mind can be strong, right? Which means our vagus nerve can be strong. Then we have the breastplate of righteousness. We have the shield of faith, right? Faith is what is believing in what's unseen.
Extinguishing the flaming arrows of the evil one.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then we have the belt of truth.
No, we got the
belt.
The shield.
I got shield.
The sword of the spirit.
So I'm getting there. I was going to leave that last. Okay.
Well, I know, but
she's watching me put it on.
You already did the belt.
I got the belt. I'm reviewing this.
Sorry.
Okay. I got double installation. The belt of truth again, shoes of peace, and then the sword of the spirit. Right.
Shield of faith, sword of the spirit.
Exactly.
The word of God, and then you stand.
The word of God, and you
firm.
stand. And then in our family, we would grab a towel because we'd say the towel to be a washer of feet. But that's just us. That's extra bonus points for you today for listeners. But the Bible tells us to put it on and stand. Why? Because again, we know the days are evil. We know there's more darkness in this world today than ever before. Side note, just read the book, Return of the Gods. Just read it by Jonathan Cahn. You'll see it. It really has made me more putting on my armor of God. Because if you're not putting the armor of God on every day, then what happens, your shield goes down. You don't have your helmet on. You don't have your breastplate. You don't have your shield. You don't have your belt. You don't have the shoes of peace. You don't have the sword of the spirit. You're like, oh, come on, Dr. Joe. What's that really matter? It matters everything.
Because those things are protecting your brain, your heart, your lungs, your digestion. I mean, it's all your vital organs, you know?
If you don't guard your mind, if you don't guard the important parts of your body, then it allows darkness to creep its way in one day at a time. And that darkness, okay, that stress, if you would, begins to have a direct effect on your mind, which then directs your vagus system, your vagal nerves, and then that's what begins to cause poor health in your emotions, poor health in your biology, your organs, your muscles, and poor behavior. You just start making choices that are like, and we're going to get into this in a minute, it's like, what were you thinking? Yeah. What made you want to do that?
Because it's like your vagus nerve controls your involuntary sensory and motor functions. So if it's in your involuntary, it's the things that you don't think about. So then you go and put a lot of garbage in your brain. Then these things are affected because you're no longer thinking of God and godly things. You're now thinking of earthly things or this or that or other people, which God says, you know, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries by itself. And then things like, you know, what other people say about you. But then, you know, it says, you know, take the lesser table so that you can be brought up to the higher table, and you know, or they're going to ask you to move back to the lower table because they have somebody more important than you coming. And so it's like keeping it in perspective. And sometimes all these things that the world's saying about you takes our mind off of the godly perspective of living,
of being aware of what's going on. That that John 10:10 is real, and that we need to have our shield up, you know, every day. And we need to teach our children to have our armor of God on every day. Because if not, then for the purpose of this show, your vagus nerve is going to become under attack. And as your shield goes down, now you're wide open to all the darkness of emotions that the world wants to throw on us.
Right. You're not Captain America shield, right?
Exactly. You're open to all the diseases of the Egyptians. True. The cancer, the heart disease, the diabetes, the autism, the asthma,
anxiety.
the bipolar, the anxiety, the ADHD, you know, all these things you're open to. Those are the diseases of the Egyptians. And why do you have those things? Because your shield is down.
And you're stressing out because you're listening to all these other things as opposed to, like, we'll say to our kids, what does God say about you? You know, and they go, I don't know, then let's dig.
Let's dig.
Then dig.
Let's choose that. Let's put on the armor back again. And then we start making choices, whether it's to punch our brother or sister, or to act violently, or to act dangerously on bikes or skateboards and things like that, or to be disruptive in school, or just not be socially kind to one another. That you're looking out, it's all about you, and you're greedy, and it's your toys, and mine, me, and there is no thought of others, and as teenagers get there, they walk past the dishes and like, hey, those dishes are there. I didn't make them. Well, and again, all of that is linked back to the vagus nerve. And so putting the shield on, putting the shield up, we're going to give you practical steps. But I just want to talk to you about a patient we had that just was in serious health crisis. And it was affecting her relationship with her family. Because again, being unhealthy, having vagal nerve dysfunction is not just a one person isolated thing. If you're a parent of a child that has vagal nerve dysfunction, it's not fun. You want to help them, but it seems like they don't want help. They just want to, they just want what they want, and you feel like you're really ready to pull your hair out because this child that you love is making you crazy. That their behavior is so unpredictable. And you feel like sometimes no matter what you're doing, it's not working. And that's, where the Bible says, raise a child in the way they should go. And as they learn and get older, they will not depart from the things that you're sowing into them. And again, if you look to what the world says, they're going to try to offer you a medication or a shot or an institution or a procedure or something that really doesn't deliver the promises that God has said, listen, this is what we need to do. And so
you're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes. So when this child came into our office, we took x-rays of their spine because, again, one of the keys to having a strong vagus nerve system is your posture. And again, her posture was horrible. She had damage in her upper neck from birth trauma, which never allowed her spine to grow straight and strong. It affected her posture. You could see it when she was walking. They would call that today now text neck, But yet, does posture matter? Yes, because again, that's like if you imagine a guitar string, okay, and on the guitar string, those are the vagal nerves, and if that guitar gets out of tune, that affects the song that guitar is going to play. So when your nerve system and you have poor posture, that's going to affect the tune or the song that your brain's able to play, and that vagus nerve system you're not going to like the emotions or the biology or the behavior that song creates. And so the first thing we started doing is getting her adjusted. We would get her spine warmed up first to start changing that posture. Then we would get her adjusted and turn that God's healing power back on. And then we would do exercises, and we gave her exercises in the office and at home that were specifically designed to start to change her posture, to set her head going forward, like it's an old lady, old man direction. We wanted that brain and spinal cord and posture going the opposite direction towards strength and healing. And then I would ask her things like, okay, tell me when this happens, what you're thinking. What are you thinking about? Because your thoughts, again, how do you begin to change this child's channel? You have to talk to them and say, tell me, start asking them questions. Tell me what you're thinking right now. Tell me what you were thinking about when you decided, let's say, why did you punch your brother? They're going to say, I don't know. They made me mad. But no, let's back it up and be calm voice. What were you thinking? What are you thinking right now? And then when the timing's right, okay, what is God thinking about this? Is that really true? Kind of shining the light of truth up because you have your belt of truth on. Anything to add to that, Mrs. Arbel? Your thoughts? So when we're trying to change the channels, so once we got her to understand that my thoughts dictate my emotions, my thoughts dictate my biology, my thoughts dictate my behavior, she could then begin to take scripture and take happy worship music and begin to change her mood, begin to bring healing to her vagus nerve system, and that started her to keep her in peace so that she wasn't triggered as much. So as we got her adjusted and got her nerve system healing, then we started changing her thoughts and what she was saying about herself. I'm dumb, or we got her to speak differently about herself. We got her to begin to use Bible verses to change her identity. And then the transformation began to happen. The other thing we told her to do is go out and play. Go out and get exercise. Go out with your friends. Go out and play. Go ride your bike, but get outside. Sunshine is good for you. Exercise is good for you, but just go learn to play. Go walk your dog. Get outside. Stop. Get off the couch. Get out in front of the TV and the video games. Get off the cell phone. Get off the iPad and get outside. And so the third thing that's important about healing this vagus nerve dysfunction is you got to play. You got to exercise. And then the next thing we talked about was just, does she get physical touch? Is she being hugged by her family appropriately? A lot of my patients, every time after my adjustment, I make sure they get a hug so that they know they're loved and they're listened to. And so I think physical touch is important, appropriate physical touch, because she wasn't getting enough hugs. She wasn't being that her friends mattered, because her brain was saying, I don't matter. I'm alone in this. I don't know what's going on, And so she wasn't getting social acceptance from her friends. So if you have friends appropriately, giving hugs, that's important. And then again, I'm a big proponent about worship music because it can change the atmosphere. So I made sure their parents were playing worship music while she's sleeping, just really low. Make sure there's worship music, in the car. Make sure that she was singing songs, even silly songs, that just would get her singing, that would just help her strengthen her brain, change the channel, and begin to get her stop focusing on what's wrong with her and what's wrong with going around her, and got her focusing on what's going right. And then the two other things we worked on is her nutrition. Because again, if you're eating sugar, if you're eating ingredients that are made by man and you can't pronounce them, that's all going to have a negative effect on the brain. That's going to have a negative impact on the vagus nerve, okay, and cause dysfunction and affect the emotions, the biology, and the behavior of this child. And then the last thing is toxins. That there was all kinds of toxins, whether it was from the vaccines that she was given or the medication they had her on. Okay, it was having the opposite effect that her parents wanted to have on her. And so again, through these steps here, we started seeing life transformation take place. This young lady's smile returned to her. She started breathing. She started having more fun in school. And when she was having more fun in school, the teachers were noticing, so they paid more attention to her. Her friends were like, wow, there's something different about you. And kindness began to flow. That literally this child started transforming from the inside out because she was taking, her parents and her were taking responsibility for what they could control in her environment. And then the hugs started showing up and she started becoming a happy person. She started singing in the junior high worship band. And just her life started transforming because they weren't looking for the magic pill, the magic shot, or the magic whatever. The magic was already inside her, but her nerve system was so stressed out that they had to give it rest. She started eating breakfast and lunch and dinner and foods that were feeding her nerve system to be strong, and they started removing the toxins from the food, the toxic people, the toxic stimulation from computer games or too much screen time or too much cell phone time. And what we got to see over 6 to 12 months is literally this child begin to transform, and now she's a completely different person. But the thing is that we live in this toxic world, and so her job is now to every day have a plan to where 24/7 she's doing things and being aware of the environment she lives in so that her mind, her posture, she's taking time to play. She's taking time to give hugs to her family and receive hugs from them. She's taking time to worship, which she's in the car or listening to her worship music. She's choosing the music that tells her how good and great and strong she is, not the music that tell you that you're broken and there's something wrong with you. And then staying strong with the food and staying healthy by avoiding toxins. Now she's completely transformed. And so
if you have any questions, you can text us at 303-457-8080 or go to spinegeek.com.
Yeah.
You get Spine Geeks out there.
Yeah, because we want to connect. If this podcast is ringing true with you right now, we want to connect with you. And again, you can connect to us by texting 303-457-8080. You can go to our website and connect to us that way at spinegeek.com. If you're local, you can connect by dropping by our office. If you're not local, we have this thing called a spine immersion. Come spend a week with us, and we'll get the X-ray, we'll get the scans, we'll check and see if vagal dysfunction is what's causing this. And if it is, we'll let you know. And then we can start giving you the tools that you need to do to begin to regenerate, get that armor of God back on, get that defense mechanism back up so that the world doesn't have such a toxic effect on you and your child. So, yep.
Doc, thanks for that. And to the listeners out there, you've heard the properties that he just dropped, but of course, spinegeek.com is a reference and a resource that we always point you to. And above anything, some of you are listening to this today and you've got friends, you've got family members, you've got neighbors, you've got people that are affected by this topic. I don't know who isn't, and so maybe the greatest way that you can kind of pass that message on is shoot out a text right now to a friend, pass the episode on to them and ask them to listen. And we will catch you next time for another episode of Spine Geek, where nature makes the rules. Thanks for listening.